Alright, so this video is about the endocrine system. So far we've talked about the nervous system and how the different parts of the neuron communicate with each other to make up the bigger nervous system. We talked about the different parts of the nervous system. Well, this is looking at the endocrine system, which is another kind of a messaging system throughout your body. And the endocrine system, basically, their messengers are called hormones instead of them transferring from neuron to neuron, they're transferring throughout the bloodstream. So they're carrying the message throughout the bloodstream. So quick review, what's the messengers called in the nervous system? Hopefully you said neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are going from neuron to neuron. In the endocrine system, you have hormones going throughout the bloodstream. So they are similar and yet different from the nervous system. Obviously, hormones are still chemical messengers, but they're passed through the bloodstream to affect other tissues. They still send messages. Messages could be very similar to the nervous system or could be very specific just to the endocrine system. But because they travel through the bloodstream, they are slower transferring through the bloodstream the messages compared to the nervous system and neurotransmitters. But because they're slower, they also last longer. So I talked about in class, for example, this also explains why, you may have hormones such as adrenaline running through your body and gets you excited about something, and then it takes a while for it to kind of wear off. This also explains why, for example, sporting events, you'll have fans that will get really super excited and into things. And then after the game, they're still pumped and on this high, and then they go and do these like destructive things. For example, I know Ohio State had some rioting that occurred after one of their games that wasn't even on their campus. And there was actually been instances for English Premier League soccer where the fans were so pumped up about the game that just getting into the stadium, they trampled people and killed them because these hormones are just lasting so long. So that can be very dangerous. We'll talk more about that later. So a couple other specific things that you do need to know. The adrenal glands, they actually release hormones during times of stress. They give us energy. So your adrenal gland you can thank for when you have a very stressful week and you're just like, oh my gosh, I have all this stuff to do and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it, and the adrenal gland will give you enough energy to get you through. Now of course the other side effect, the problem is that after you get through that stressful week, usually you crash because all of a sudden you just cut off from all that, all those hormones, and it's just this crashing period where all you want to do is sleep, and you're much more open to, your immune system is much more compromised. But the adrenal gland, that will help you do that. The pituitary gland, on the other hand, is another part of the endocrine system that is in the brain. It is controlled by your hypothalamus. And so the hypothalamus, you'll find when you do your brain project, is having to do with drives such as thirst and hunger and sex and those kinds of things. But the pituitary gland specifically is the one that is going to be controlling growth and influences a bunch of other hormones associated with that. So I have a couple pictures. This one I found this is kind of funny. It says, feeling weak, run down, and stressed out, adrenal balance. And I think this is funny because a lot of people don't really remember what the adrenal gland does. It says, optimize adrenal function, support and strengthen adrenal glands, maintain normal adrenal function, regulate stress. So if you think of adrenal glands and stress and maybe this kooky little ad here, hopefully that'll help you remember the adrenal gland. And from a pituitary gland, you have this cute little picture of this baby with this measuring tape. The pituitary has a good spurt at the beginning of your life. 0 to 3 is usually when you have a really great spurt of growth, and then it kind of slows down for a while, and then obviously you have a good huge spurt of growth during puberty. The interesting thing is that for most of the girls out there, sorry to say, you are probably your adult height. Girls have already had their last growth spurt for the most part. Guys, on the other hand, interesting little thing is that guys sometimes have a growth spurt in late teens, early 20s, especially if they're on the shorter side when, for example, they graduate high school. So it's not uncommon to, have a classmate, for example, a male classmate that, graduating from high school was on the shorter side, and then you come back for your 10-year reunion and you have to look up to him because he all of a sudden had this growth spurt and you're like, what the heck happened to you? That's the pituitary gland. Um, Obviously, other things that are controlled by the endocrine system, because we said hormones, are going to be all the sex organs too, so male and female sex organs. It does give you an idea of where the adrenal gland is, okay, so that is up here. And then our pituitary, remember, is up in our brain. Other things on here that I didn't mention is the thyroid, the parathyroid. The big ones that you need to know are the pituitary, the adrenal, and like the sex organs. And the sex organs we'll talk about more later when we talk about sex drive. All right, that's it for the endocrine system. That's all I wanted to do. Let me know if you have any questions.